It's the question that kicks off almost every residency interview. So tell me a bit about yourself. And yet, it's the one that causes quite a bit of panic. In this video, we're going to take a look at how an internal medicine applicant, an IMG, can approach this question. My goal is that you'll walk away from this video with some actionable tips and a real life example that's suited for the high pressure and oftentimes super quick residency interview programs for internal medicine. So here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll speak briefly about mindset and structure. After that, we'll take a look at a real life sample answer that uses my APMPF framework. And to wrap it all up, we'll analyze the answer and give you some actionable takeaways. Quick spoiler, I'll also be letting you know how you can access my self-introduction worksheet, which can be a great starting point for your self-introduction. It's completely free for viewers. More about that in a bit. For now, greetings and welcome. This question shouldn't be seen as just some formality or a casual icebreaker. It's actually a huge opportunity. It can help steer the conversation and create space for the parts of your story that matter most. Here's a common pitfall that I see more often than not: feeling like you have to explain every step of your journey, every detail of your background. And this moment isn't about justifying your path or telling your full story. It's about starting the conversation. Let me propose an idea. Just for a moment, let's entertain this thought and let's think differently about this question. It's really an opening statement, and I like that metaphor a lot, opening statement. Think like a lawyer giving their opening statement, an opening argument. Lay out your core message, hint at the points you'd like to come back to, and help your listener feel oriented. Your self-introduction is where you plant seeds for follow-up questions, questions about your research, your rotations, your long-term goals, who you are outside of medicine. And you don't have to cover everything, and you certainly shouldn't cover anything in depth. Guide the conversation in a direction that lets your strengths come through. Here's the framework that we're going to be using. It's my APMPF framework. It's a clear, flexible structure for organizing your story. There are 5 components: appreciation, present, motivation, past, future. You can use this framework to anchor your thinking and communicate clearly. Think of it kind of like a roadmap, not a scripting tool. The goal isn't memorization at all. In fact, memorized answers come across as robotic and they just don't connect. Now, let's take a look at what works for an internal medicine IMG applicant. First of all, thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. I've been looking forward to learning more about your program and sharing a bit about my background. Originally, I'm from Turkey, and I recently graduated from Hacettepe University. Over the past year, I've completed U.S. clinical rotations, including a sub-internship in internal medicine at Mount Sinai. There, I had the chance to present on rounds, to co-manage complex cases, and collaborate closely with multidisciplinary teams. I've been told that I bring calm energy to fast-paced environments and that I connect well with patients, especially the patients navigating uncertainty. So, what draws me most to internal medicine is the balance between broad clinical thinking and close patient relationships. I'm motivated by the opportunity to ask good questions, to think critically, and contribute meaningfully to a team that values learning. Before coming to the US, I volunteered at a free clinic for immigrant families in Istanbul. That experience shaped how I approach communication and empathy, especially across cultures. I've also contributed to research on cardiac biomarkers in COVID-19 patients and presented at the ESC conference. I'm looking for a residency that combines strong clinical training with a supportive culture. And your program stood out to me for its cardiology exposure and its emphasis on mentorship. I'm especially drawn to training in the US because of the culture of structured learning, multidisciplinary teamwork, and continuous improvement. So, following my residency training, my goal would be to pursue a fellowship in cardiology. But for now, my goal is to match with your program. I'd be excited to contribute as a thoughtful, curious, and reliable team member, and to grow into a physician who brings both global perspective and local impact to the communities I serve. Okay, so what do you think about that self introduction? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But for now, let me share a bit about why I think this answer works so well and what you can take away from it. The applicant's present section immediately builds credibility. The US clinical rotations are relevant, recent, and include specifics, sub internships, rounds, managing cases. And that shows readiness for residency level work. But what makes it stand out is how this candidate's soft skills are framed: calm energy, connecting well with patients, navigating uncertainty. These are clinical strengths, not just personality traits. The motivation section, it's lean but effective. It ties internal medicine to both intellectual depth and human connection. And this is a great reminder: you don't need a long philosophical statement here. A few focused sentences that link your personality to your specialty can go a long way. So in the past section, we see a strong mix of clinical and human experience. The free clinic story connects to patient communication and empathy, especially relevant for internal medicine. The research shows scientific engagement. And one experience is about people, the other is about systems, and together they round out the picture. In the future section, the answer shows strong alignment. They name specific reasons: cardiology exposure, mentorship, structure. And instead of rushing to the fellowship plan, they recenter on this immediate goal: matching. That balance between long term ambition and present commitment is important. This introduction plants several seeds without telling the full story or without trying to. And I think that those seeds could grow into a couple of really meaningful follow up questions, like, tell me more about your experience at Mount Sinai. Tell me a bit more about what you learned from working with immigrant families. How has your cardiology research shaped your thinking? You mentioned you were interested in a program with an emphasis on cardiology. Tell me a bit more. Mentorship was another topic that you mentioned. What kind of mentorship are you looking for? Each of these allows the interviewer to go deeper, but always into the terrain that the applicant is well prepared to speak about. And that's the beauty of this framework and of planting seeds. You're guiding the story and you're shaping the conversation to reflect your best strengths. So, as you move forward in your thinking process, here are 5 points to take away from this applicant's self introduction. First, specific is strategy. It's not just about saying what you've done, it's about naming the right details of what you've done. When you mention a sub internship, a conference presentation, or the kinds of patients that you've served, you're not listing achievements, you're building a picture of fit. Second, balance your clinical and human experience. You don't have to choose between science and story. Pair one detail that shows analytical skills with another that shows interpersonal awareness. After all, that duality is exactly what internal medicine demands. Third, signal your thought process subtly. You don't need to narrate every reflection, but a short phrase like, especially those patients who are navigating uncertainty, lets the interviewer glimpse how you think and what you truly prefer, not just what you've done. Fourth, use the future section to show alignment, not aspiration or admiration. Long-term goals are fantastic and necessary, but don't skip the step that you're actually applying for. Name what you're looking for in the immediate future and show that you've done your homework on their program. Fifth, plant seeds with intention. Ask yourself, if I say this, what might they ask me next? Then choose the details that set you up for conversations you want to have in your interview. That's how you gently shift from being the subject of the interview to being the guide. This isn't about sounding perfect. It's about shaping a conversation that reflects the kind of colleague you're becoming. So, now that we've spoken a bit about the strategy within the answer, let's talk about some best practices once you have these ideas abstractly organized. Here are some suggestions on how you can practice. First, create bullet points, not full scripts. You're not trying to recite a monologue. Think about it this way: writing is linear, speaking is dynamic. You're trying to sound like a person who's real, who's clear, who's prepared, reflective, not a robot. By the way, my self-introduction worksheet is a great starting point for exactly this kind of step one in your preparation. You can request it in the link in the description. I'll be sure to send it out right away. And of course, if you'd like a more personalized approach on your self-introduction and interview preparation, let's find a time to speak one-on-one. My booking link is also in the description. So, number two, second, practice by speaking out loud. Even if you're preparing alone, there is so much benefit to speaking out loud. You don't have to record yourself and listen back to your recording and self criticize, but you do have to get to the end of the answer every time you start it. Let your brain hear your voice. That's how you train for fluency under pressure. And third, as you're practicing out loud, be open to being highly unsatisfied those first few times that you try. After all, this is practice, and it's much better to be unsatisfied while you're practicing than when you're interviewing. And I think that dissatisfaction is actually an opportunity. Set a marker at the moments that you think you could make a better point and keep going. Then afterwards, come back to those markers and think of what you could say better. This is a natural process of evolution, and great self introductions go through exactly this process. Fourth, identify the seeds that you want to plant in each section. These are the ideas you want to be asked more about, and be strategic here. Choose details that invite curiosity, like a rotation, a research project, or a cross cultural experience. Fifth, a very important reminder: do not memorize or over polish. The goal is not perfection, it's connection. A few pauses, grammar errors, imperfection, it's completely okay as long as your structure is strong and your message is real. I've worked with so many non-native English speakers, and what I've learned is that a truly compelling message can speak through any grammar error. There is no grammatical structure or vocabulary worksheet that is going to help you match. But starting off strong with a really great introduction and first impression, that will really help you in this process. So if you're working on your self-introduction, if you're thinking about residency interviews, get started now by writing some ideas that you could include in each of these five sections: appreciation, present, motivation, past, future. And of course, admittedly, a medical residency interview is more than just introducing yourself. But think about it. We're talking about 20-minute interviews here. A 2-minute self introduction is 10% of your interview, so make sure you start strong. But if there's another question that's keeping you up at night, let me know in the comments. I'd love to make a video about it. So if this video is helpful, let me know, give it a like, share it with someone else who's preparing for residency interviews, and subscribe so that OmniInterview is on your team. I publish new content often. And of course, if you'd like my self-introduction worksheet, just request it by using the link below. And of course, if you'd like a more personalized approach, we can schedule a time to meet one-on-one. As you move forward in your preparation, just remember, You don't need perfect English to leave a strong impression. You need structure, clarity, and self awareness that helps you identify your story. And your story is absolutely one worth telling. If you've gotten this far to a residency interview, you definitely have a strong story. So, if you'd like more information on this APMPF self introduction framework, be sure to check out my full explainer next. Otherwise, thanks for watching. See you next time.